Okay, imagine this. You're thrown in prison. Your entire world just shrinks down to four walls. So what do? Do you despair? Or do you somehow find a way to make that cell the starting point for a journey into the deepest questions of life and eternity? We're going to dive into this because that's exactly what the Islamic scholar Said Nursi did, and what came out of it was one of the most profound philosophical texts of the 20th century, written entirely from inside a prison cell.
You see, for Nursi and his students, this wasn't a punishment. Nope, it was a curriculum. He actually saw their imprisonment as this incredible opportunity, a mandate even, to turn their confinement into a classroom. This quote right here just sets the whole stage. Prison wasn't the end of the road. It was the beginning of a seriously intense and focused school.
And this school, it had a name: the School of Joseph. Now, Nursi is drawing on the story of the prophet Joseph, who you might remember was also unjustly thrown in prison. So he reframed the whole experience. It wasn't about suffering, it was a unique kind of spiritual training. A place where, once you're stripped of all the worldly distractions, you can finally confront the biggest questions there are.
So what exactly is this text we're digging into? It's called the 11th Ray, and it was written specifically for his fellow prisoners as a defense against atheism and materialism. You can think of it as a kind of logical manual for finding meaning when it seems like all meaning is totally lost. And it makes a really bold claim, that when you're staring death and suffering in the face, belief isn't just a comfort, it's the only truly rational choice you can make.
So what's the core problem Nursi is really trying to solve here? Well, he argues that, in a way, we are all prisoners. Life itself is just this temporary guest house. And let's face it, we're all kind of on death row. And inside that reality, every single one of us faces a choice, a kind of ultimate lottery, with consequences that are literally eternal.
He lays out this choice with a really powerful analogy. Imagine you're presented with two paths. The one on the left offers all these immediate pleasures, music, wine, amazing food, but it's a total trap. It leads you straight to the gallows. The path on the right, well, it seems a lot more modest, just some simple food and a few books, but it promises you a ticket to an everlasting treasury. I mean, the choice seems pretty obvious, right?
And this right here just brilliantly illustrates the stakes. On the left, you've got the path of disbelief. The final result? Eternal annihilation. The grave is nothing more than a bottomless pit. But on the right, you have the path of belief. The result there is eternal bliss. And the grave, well, it transforms from this dark pit into a doorway to a beautiful garden. The contrast just could not be more stark.
So, the real question is, which path is the smarter bet? Now, Nursi argues this isn't some 50-50 shot in the dark. He claims the probability of winning what he calls the lottery of the hereafter is overwhelmingly high for the believer. How does he get to that? Well, he bases this number on the unanimous testimony of over 100,000 prophets and literally millions of saints and scholars throughout all of human history. Let's just look at this visually for a second. Your chance of winning a typical worldly lottery with, say, 1,000 tickets, it's just 1 in 1,000. That's 0.1%. But based on the sheer weight of all that historical and spiritual testimony, Nursi argues the chance of salvation for a believer is 999 in 1,000. So he asks a pretty pointed question. Who in their right mind would throw away a 99.9% chance of eternal happiness for the fleeting and frankly poisoned pleasures of the world?
But here's the thing. Nursi doesn't just rely on testimony. He argues that you don't even need ancient texts for proof because the evidence is literally all around us, in the very fabric of the universe itself. He invites us to look at the world not like mystics, but like scientists.
He starts with a simple, really powerful analogy. If you walk into a pharmacy and you see thousands of different medicines, each one precisely measured and labeled for a very specific purpose, you don't just assume it all appeared there by chance. You just know there has to be a highly skilled and wise pharmacist behind it all.
Then he builds on this. Think about a complex factory, one that's weaving thousands of different kinds of textiles from just a single raw material. The intricate machinery, the organized process, it all points directly to a skillful manufacturer. The factory itself is proof of its maker's intelligence and design.
Or how about this? Consider a massive army made up of hundreds of thousands of different units, each with its own unique uniforms, weapons, and provisions. If this army moves and operates with perfect order and precision, without any chaos or confusion, it just self-evidently proves the existence of a single brilliant commander. And this is where he brings it all together. The Earth, he says, is like a vast pharmacy.
The universe is like a factory of unbelievable complexity, and the natural world, with its millions of species, is like a perfectly organized army. So, just as each of those things points to its creator, he argues, so too does the breathtaking order, the complexity, and the sheer majesty of the universe point to a single, all-wise creator.
But Nursi's argument doesn't stop with the afterlife. Not at all. He insists that the fruits of belief are actually harvested right here, in this life. Faith isn't just a ticket to some future paradise. It's a tool that provides immediate, tangible comfort and profound meaning right in the middle of life's biggest struggles.
And he breaks it down across our entire lifespan. For kids, the terrifying idea of a friend or sibling dying is completely transformed. They see them not as gone forever, but as little birds now living in paradise. For young people, driven by such powerful emotions, belief in a hereafter provides a crucial moral compass. For the elderly, who are facing the end of their lives, belief turns that despair into hope, seeing death as a door to eternal youth. And for society as a whole, it creates a real foundation for true justice and compassion.
Now this is what's really crucial, how belief reframes our entire experience of suffering. From this perspective, a painful illness isn't just some random curse. It's a process of purification. The loss of a loved one isn't a permanent end, it's just a temporary separation. Old age isn't just decay, it's the prelude to something so much better. And all the injustice we see in the world, that is not the final word, because a perfect justice is waiting. Belief literally transforms poison into medicine.
So let's bring all of this back to where we started, inside that prison cell. After building this entire case for belief as both the most rational choice and the greatest source of comfort, Nursine delivers his final verdict on what it really means to be truly free.
This quote, this is the heart of the entire text. True imprisonment isn't about physical walls. It's a spiritual state. A person who has faith is truly free, even in a dungeon. But a person who has forgotten their creator is a prisoner, even if they live in a magnificent palace, trapped by their own anxieties, their fears, and the ultimate reality of death.
He ends with this unforgettable image. A man, wrongly condemned, is being led to his execution. But he's smiling. He turns to his executioners and says, "I am not being executed. I am being demobilized from my duties here and departing for a place of happiness. But I see that you are the ones being condemned to eternal execution, and in that I take my revenge." He sees his own death not as an end, but as a release, a triumphant journey home.
And that leaves us with this final, powerful question. Written from a prison cell, the 11th Ray challenges our entire definition of freedom and confinement. It suggests that the ultimate liberation isn't found in breaking out of a physical prison, but in breaking free from the spiritual prison of a world without meaning. So the question remains for all of us: what does it mean to you to be truly free?